Welcome to Rambo Part 2. Chapter 7, Day 9, Part 2. So we are on page 3, and this problem is actually just like the one you guys did. And so what I'm going to let you guys do once more, and again, you're going to have at least a couple of these on our test, guys, so it is crucial. These are big test questions. Big test questions. So with that in mind, again, you want to find your altitude. Part 1 over altitude equals altitude over part 2. You want to find a leg? That's going to be adjacent part over the leg equals the leg over the hypotenuse. So again, two formulas here. Go ahead, guys. We know that's our altitude. This is going to be interesting, though, because here is our right angle. That means this is your hypotenuse. So how about let's stay on the same page. I'm going to call this leg 1, which makes this part 1, which makes x part 2, which will make z leg 2. So guys, go ahead and see what we can do here. I'll be very curious to see how you guys find part 2, how you find our x. I would start there. So, real quick, before, hopefully if you haven't gotten started, this will help you. But if you have got started and you're stuck, let's talk about it a little bit. So, you're probably really confused because it seems like we need part 2 to do almost everything, right? To find the altitude, to find leg 2, we have to know part 2. So guys, the only way we're going to be able to do this is by using a formula that has everything but one thing that we don't know. Check it out. We know leg 1, don't we? We know part 1. These are the only two things we actually know. So we're going to have to stick with the leg formula here. And let's just plug in what we know. So we've got part 1, the adjacent part is 4. We've got leg 1, which we know is 12, equal to leg 1, 12 over, and here's the cool part. What do you guys want to call the hypotenuse that we don't know? It's not actually one of our letters. I'm going to call this, let's go T. And so if we can find out what the hypotenuse is, we can subtract 4 from that to know what part 2 is going to be. So let's find out. Check this out. 4 times T, 4T, 12 times 12, 144. Hey, this isn't too bad. Divide by 4. We end up with T being 36. So our hypotenuse is going to be, I'll do this in blue, our hypotenuse is going to be 36. Well, if that's the case, and that's 4, that's going to make x 32. So guys, the whole goal of geometry is using what we know to find what we don't know. And from here, now that we know what x is, I'm going to let you guys work to find the altitude and leg 2. So you can go ahead and pause and finish. Check out what I did here, guys. So on leg 2 and altitude, we set it up, of course, using our formulas. But like on leg 2, when I cross multiplied, I didn't go ahead and multiply those together because what do we know 36 is? Well, that's a perfect square. Square root of 36 is 6. But we got to be careful because we can still break down the square root of 32. What's the biggest perfect square that goes into 32? Not 4, not 9. Going to be 16. Goes in 2 times. So the square root of 16 is 4. Square root of 2, and of course, that's going to give us 24 square root of 2. And again, you don't have to show all these steps. If you can do the mental math and go from this step down to this step, do it. Same thing over here. I'm going to take the shortcut. Check this out. So this will be 2, and we know it'll be 16 again, just like last time. But this time, I know the square root of 16 is 4. 4 times 2, 8 square root of 2. We'll save us a step. Just jump from there to there. All right. Whew, so that one this is probably the toughest problem we've done yet. This is a tough one. So remember to reach out, ask me any questions. Last page, guys. Again, this was a day 5-er. Page 4. And on these are going to be day 7. This is going to be day 7 for 10 through 12. So if you need a reminder, we know for 45, 45, 90 triangles, we have one formula. The hypotenuse is going to equal either one of your legs, because remember the legs are the same, 45, 45, times the square root of 2. And this can be easy to remember because you have two 45-degree angles, so times the square root of 2. Plus 45 times 2 is 90. Now for our other one, for the 30, 60, 90 triangle, we have two formulas. We know that the hypotenuse is going to be 2 times our short leg, and the long leg is going to be the short times the square root of 369. That's a multiple of 3. So you see here with 30, 60, 90, you always want to get your short leg first. Short leg first. And so I'm going to let you guys try 10 and 11. Go ahead and try those, guys. You can pause the video. All right. So we know we're going to find x, which it's across from 30, makes it our short leg. So we know the hypotenuse, 36, should equal 2 times the short leg x. Divide by 2, x equals 18. Keep that one nice and simple. Now here we see we've got 30 degrees going to nothing. We've got 60 degrees going to this, so this is our long leg. And then, unfortunately, what we're trying to find is our hypotenuse. Now, check this out. The hypotenuse, the only formula to find that is going to come from the short leg. Well, we don't know the short leg. So what we're going to have to do is, guys, we're going to have to find out. We're going to have to find out what the short leg is. Let's make a variable. Let's call it x. I know we're trying to find y, but we need to find our short leg before we can find the hypotenuse. And so we know that if we're going to find the short leg, this formula will be good because we don't know the hypotenuse either. So the long leg is going to be 4 square root of 3 equals the short, which we don't know, x, and then times the square root of 3. So 4 square root of 3 equals the short leg, x, times the square root of 3. Now, if this is being multiplied and we want to solve for x, it makes sense to divide by the square root of 3. It's a number, right? So if you have a number times your variable, divide by it. Well, what you do to one side, you got to do to the other. And wait a minute, we have the square root of 3 divided by the square root of 3. This is all one term, so if you divide it by a piece, those pieces are going to cancel. What do we find out? X equals 4. So then with that in mind, we know our hypotenuse is just going to be double the short leg. So if our short leg's 4, y is just going to be 2 times 4. Or 8. Okay. Last one of these 45, 90, 30, 60, 90s, we see here that unlike these previous two, and again, guys, this is going to be something you probably want to go back and look at. May want to get some extra practice here. Extra practice will probably be needed on these. So on number 12, we see here that if a leg is 3 square root of 2, find the hypotenuse. Well, here's our right angle. So we're looking for this piece right here, call it x. That's our height. Now we know a leg is 3 square root of 2. Well, guess what? Both these legs are going to be that. So to find the hypotenuse in a 45, 45, 90, we know we're going to do the hypotenuse equals the leg times the square root of 2. So x is our hypotenuse. We're going to set it equal to a leg, 3 square root of 2 times square root of 2. And so when you multiply a square root by itself, it pretty much just gives you whatever was underneath that to begin with. So square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is really the square root of 4, aka 2. That times that, get rid of the square roots, it really just becomes 2. So x equals 6. And this is a tricky one, guys. These are ones that it's easy to mess up. Very easy to mess these up. So we know that we've got a large triangle, and then because of the altitude, we have 2 other triangles that are similar. So if you have 3 triangles that are similar, it's important to know what pieces you're going on in order. So R to U to S. That's our big triangle here. Here's the right angle, which means this is our height. So R to U, that would be the height. So it looks like this. R to U, and then U to S. So U to S is going to be, if that's the right angle, that's going to be our base. So we're going to go height to base, just like that. So then check it out, SUT. We're looking at this triangle right here. Here's our right angle. That means here's our hypotenuse. So we go S to U, we go height again, and then U to T. There's your right angle, that's your base. So hypotenuse to base. And then one last time we should go height to base. So over here, we know that if that's a right angle, that's going to be a right angle, which means this is our hypotenuse. Here is our base. So we should be going, looks like S to R, and then R to T. So S to R and R to T. And the last thing today, guys, problem number 14. We're going to use the converse of the Pythagorean theorem. You may not remember that. This is a day 4 problem. To classify each triangle with the given lengths. So either this whole triangle is going to be either acute, right, or obtuse. And if you can't really remember how that goes, let me remind you. So the converse of the Pythagorean theorem says that if you do the Pythagorean theorem and your hypotenuse squared is smaller than your other sides added and squared, you've got an acute triangle. If, of course, c squared equals a squared plus b squared, then we know that it's a right angle because that's the formula. But if your hypotenuse is bigger, squared, than these other 2 sides squared, we know at that point you have an obtuse triangle. So with that in mind, I'm going to let you guys try number 14. We're going to use the Pythagorean theorem. So A, B, C. Obviously, that's got to be C. It's our biggest side. So go ahead, guys. Pause the video. See what you get here. Okay. Well, the square and square roots cancel. So you're left with 2 plus 5, and then we're going to compare that to 11. 2 plus 5 is 7. How does 7 compare to 11? Oh, 11's bigger. So in other words, c squared is greater than a squared plus b squared. And if that happens, if c squared is bigger, we get an obtuse triangle. Don't forget, guys, our test starts tomorrow. You will have a 40-hour window to take that. If you have any questions, let me know. And if you have no questions, then hope you guys have a great start to your week. Hope you had a great weekend, and go Jumpers.